Convince Me podcast, where we are on a mission to convince you to step out of your gaming comfort zone and try something new. With that said, let's get to convincing. Last episode, Darren and I tried to convince each other to play Abiotic Factor and Sword of the Sea. Darren, I think, might have been a bit more successful than I was because my game had an immediate no from him when I said I chose another game that is enhanced by playing with other people, which Darren can't stand. And Sword of the Sea is a game where you're surfing on a sword, so, who's not going to be into that? This week, we are going to be doing a Convince Me to Go Back episode, which will be games that we either wanted to play but never played, or games that we never heard of that are at least 2 generations old. That is the big caveat for the games that we choose for these episodes, is they have to be at least 2 generations old. So for those who don't know what that means, we currently have PS5, Xbox Series X, Switch 2. 2 generations old would be PS3, 360, things like that. The game that I chose is Heretic by, shocking, id Software. And Darren will be convincing me to try Legend of Dragoon by Sony Entertainment Studios. Spoiler alert, he's not going to have to try very hard because he chose a JRPG. But we will get to that in a second. And actually, you chose a JRPG, which might tie into our question of the week this week. Darren, what is a trope that you wish would just go away?
So, I had an answer that popped in immediately, and it's still my answer, but I don't know. There's so many, and there's so many really bad ones, and then I realized that a lot of the ones that I was thinking about that I really hate pertain more to anime than video games.
Could be mechanic or story-based.
Well, we don't need to talk about mechanics that I think should go away. But
stealth is not a trope. That's they're just stealth games, but I'm saying mini games that exist in a game. Like hacking mini games. That's a trope that a lot of games have. It's part of certain genres, but things like that.
Yeah, well, it's not that. So the thing that I'd really like to go away forever, and I understand this is more of writer's choice and how they choose to illustrate character development or whatever. I hate the whiny protagonist trope.
Okay. All right.
And the one that pops straight into mind, of course, is an old game, but Tidus from Final Fantasy X.
I knew
Anybody adjacent to that type of person who basically needs to be dragged by the collar of their shirt through the adventure, it's just so off-putting. And it's a really easy place to start from because it shows maturity and a willingness to do things you don't want to do or whatever. But at the end of the day, the whiny protagonist is just the worst.
Can you think of any others other than Tidus? Any others that come to your mind?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, Noctis, Final Fantasy 15, very, very similar. There are parts of Kingdom Hearts where it's Sora.
He has moments, for sure. You're going to say Vaughn.
He has a lot of moments. Vaughn isn't the protagonist, so that's okay. Technically, sure, but no, I mean, so Final Fantasy games are really, Square games, it seems, really guilty of this. But I mean, I'm sure there's others.
It's hard to think of off the top.
Games that are whiny.
Yeah.
But it's definitely more of a JRPG trope than anything. It's I think honestly that trope is part of the reason why JRPGs were looked upon as unfavorably as they were for so long, especially because the other end of that trope coin is like the hyper masculine, I drink beer out of the skull of my enemies type of dude. That's also kind of obnoxious, I'm not gonna lie. Um, so like your converse of a Tidus is your Duke Nukem. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I'm not a big fan of either extreme necessarily, but the whiny protagonist in particular, it makes it so hard to root for them. Oh
I think
God,
that's
yeah,
fair.
no, there's another one. The chick who's the main character from Forspoken, she was the worst, which made the dynamic with the cuff so much worse.
That's fair. That's fair. I okay. Mine is also pretty much exclusively JRPGs as well, because preferred genre.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Female mage characters, specifically female white mages.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many instances where the healer of your party is a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so tired of it. Give me a guy as a white mage. Give me a dope female knight. Like, the female knight exists. That's not fair. But like, can you think off the cuff of
Mm-hmm.
many female characters that either aren't crazy knight paladin energy or healer? The one that comes into my mind is Tifa, because she straight up throws
Of
hands.
course,
But
of
like,
course.
can you think of a ton of female characters that aren't either like tanky knight or mage?
I mean, are we talking about JRPGs or are we talking about games in general?
JRPGs, because that's the trope
Okay,
that I'm
yeah. I
tackling.
mean, pretty much
They
any.
exist,
Well,
but
Final
like,
Fantasy 13 is a little more complicated because anybody can be anything. But like Fang and Lightning both. Sarah is absolutely not a white mage in 13 too. Jill is absolutely not any of those prototypes in 16. Um,
16 does not count because you don't even really have a party in 16.
no, but you could still have benefited from a healer at certain points in that game,
Well,
and Jill wasn't the one. If anything, it was actually Joshua. Um, let's see. Let's run it back real quick. I mean, Riku, who's obviously a thief. Lulu was the black mage. Um, Ash, we could make an argument was a paladin, but like Fran was very much the archer ranger archetype. So
no,
I mean,
don't get me wrong.
not
I
to
didn't
say
say
that
they don't
females aren't other
exist.
roles.
I didn't say they don't exist. I just said the trope is that your women
Yeah.
are white mages or
So
spellcasters of some sort.
the better question would be, can you think of spellcasters or mages who weren't women?
Yeah.
Because like there's usually a ton of women in your party depending on the game. So I mean, if one person fills one role, de facto every other female in the party is something else.
Okay,
Um,
fine. Yes. Can you think of too
Now,
many white mages or healers that aren't a female in the party?
so
Other than class-based games, because then you can make anybody anything.
right. So I mean, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius had a lot of them, to be fair, but there were so many units in that game that we
Dude,
won't we won't get into that. Um, Really, Joshua is probably the only one that comes to mind from 16. Um,
I guess you could
Non-class
say
based characters.
Kingdom Hearts. You're not really gonna count
Oh,
Kingdom Hearts. You could, but there's.
no, well,
Or
the
wait, are
party's
there
only ever really three.
other than Ariel and
So
Mulan? Are there a ton of female, like, world party members? I don't know. That's a
no,
whole other thing. I don't think there are many, but it
no,
it just brings to mind of like why is that the trope? Because it's like it's a nurturing, caring role, I guess.
I'm sure.
Like it's a
And because they're a class who needs to be protected because they're not supposed to be in the front lines, I'm sure. Um,
yeah,
but
that's whack.
the converse of that that has become a huge trope in Japan is the blonde-haired, massive shield paladin archetype.
Yeah, that's
Like
why I tell you, I
that's
can
all
think
of it.
of a
And
few of those.
oddly enough, so many of them are named Charlotte. Like so many.
You know who stood out to me, and I know there are people who didn't like this game. I thought it was fine. A character that was a bit of a different archetype for me, other than a bunch of characters from Soul Hackers 2.
Hmm.
Shion from Tales of Arise. She was a gun user,
Hmm.
and it was like I man, it has been years since I played Tales of Arise, but I think she also she her gun, like, I think you could heal with her gun, like shot healing spells or something. But look, another female healer. But her main thing, her weapon was her like rifle, which
Mm.
I thought was super cool because that's not
I mean,
a
hey,
thing, a weapon that you'll often see a female party member using.
it's true. I don't know.
It was super cool.
I'm sure there's others. I don't know why I can't think of any.
There's an expanse of JRPGs, but it's just
I
a trope
know.
that I've noticed. Um, and then you'll always have your mage character. Okay, here's another question for you. Is this a
Hmm.
trope? Because I like there are so many JRPGs we've never played. Are there many mage characters that don't wear glasses?
I mean, neither Yuna nor Lulu did. Um, 13. Sarah didn't.
Mm.
Hope didn't.
Okay,
Well, Hope
I
didn't
feel like
in
we're stuck
13
on Final
too.
Fantasy.
Well, it's because I mean, if we're talking about JRPGs, then it comes to my defaults. Um,
Were
that
there
that
any?
was the trope because it was like, hey, I'm so smart. Look how smart I am, reading from books.
Let me push up my
Um,
glasses.
I mean, there's no shortage of mage type units in Fire Emblem games that don't have glasses.
Well, Fire
Um,
Emblem kind of counts, but you can also make anybody anything you want.
that's a very recent thing. That was not Fire Emblem until very, very recently. In fact, with Three Houses, I believe, was the first time you could force anyone to do anything.
You can do that in
Everybody
Awakening.
else had dedicated, no, they had dedicated jobs that
Oh,
had like branching paths, but you couldn't, as far as I can remember, you couldn't completely switch up somebody's archetype the way you could in Three Houses.
that was so nice.
So that's, and like classic Star Ocean, God no. Somebody had one class, you could evolve them in potentially two different things. That's it.
Yeah, there's a game that just got a sequel that I want to try called Dark Deity. That is a
Hmm.
Fire Emblem like, made by an indie studio. But that's neither here nor there. So yes, tropes.
Yeah.
If you're listening, please send us messages, emails, whatever. What are some tropes you know about? Now,
Emails. Yes, send us a page.
send us a
You could
fax.
fax us.
Okay,
Yeah,
people
fax
still
us is
email.
great.
Get out of here.
Hit me hit me on my my BlackBerry. You know, maybe you could chirp it. That could
Since
be
when
great.
did email become out of fashion? Sorry,
Bro,
slide
email
into
is
our
like
DMs. Send us a DM on
send me
Instagram or what. Like, come on now.
send me a certified letter. You know, if we're gonna go through
you, you
archaic means of
you get it
communication, but it's
notarized
got to
before
be
you send
official.
it over.
Has to be notarized. I want it in triplicate. If it's not in triplicate, I'm not gonna read it. Send us an email,
I
man. All right,
dislike
Grandma.
you. So, one word. Okay. So
It's okay. The one word.
on to my game of the week. I said last week that I had a story connected to one of the games in
Mm-hmm.
this series. So I did Heretic this week by Raven Software and id Software. id Software, obviously known for like Doom and Quake and things like that. Raven Software is known for Raven Software. Do they still exist? Oh, they're just Raven now. Oh, yeah. I've seen that logo. They are known for Star Wars Jedi Knight, Oh, they work on some of the Call of Duties. That's Black Ops Studio. Got it. Got it. Okay. So that's what they do. So two companies widely known for shooters. And so, Darren, I want to take you back to the olden times of Doom, like the original MS DOS, like pixelated style Doom. And I want you to imagine that exact gameplay, but in high, like fantasy. That is the game I played. Now,
Oh, so you just played Doom again?
it's basically Doom, but with like some old school fantasy trappings. And it was, I gotta say, incredible. Now, full disclosure, Darren got to witness like 5 minutes of gameplay of this game because we are in the process of trying to stream games together. And so I was experimenting with it, and I decided to experiment with the game, so Darren got to see a little bit of it. But it was so much fun. And my story ties into what's actually the sequel to this game. So back in the Blockbuster days, for those who were too young, Blockbuster, Hollywood Video. For my brothers and I, it was Wildcat Video, which was a local rental store when we went to visit family in Kentucky. And there was, we were in the Blockbuster. I don't think it was Wildcat Video. I think it was Blockbuster. And I was going through games. We had an N64 at the time. And I remember just browsing the shelves. And there was this game that caught my eye called Hexen. And I remember going, oh snap, this looks cool. Keep in mind, this is before I really knew what fantasy truly was. Like, I had no idea what it was. And so, I think you had, a week to bring your rentals back?
I think you could pay extra to have a week. I think it was actually like 3 days.
So you had a limited time to bring the game back. And so we abided by that rule. And I got Hexen. Because it used to be a thing. You could get like one game. My brothers used to get like their own game or a movie or whatever. And I always got a game. And I got Hexen like 5 times in a row when we went. Because I had so much fun with it. And my brothers used to flame me because I got the game so many times in a row to the point where they started calling me Hexen.
Oh no.
And they would just walk in a room when I was playing. They'd be like, hey, what's up, Hexen? And I got so mad. Because I was just sitting there as a, 90-something? So I'd have been like 8, 9 years old. And my brothers are just trying to flame me because I'm trying to play a game and have fun. And no lie, when they started calling me that, I really wanted to keep renting the game. But because they were making fun of me, I stopped renting it and moved on to other things. And I never beat it. And I will never forget being called Hexen because I was so into the game. So mean.
Did you also play Hexen this week, and did you beat it?
No, I didn't play Hexen.
Your inner child?
I should have. But no, I played Heretic, which was the game that came before. And like I was saying, it is basically fantasy Doom to the point where there's no reloading. These games didn't have reloading. It was just pure like pull trigger fire ammo. And one of the sorry, gotta pull up my notes. One of the items in the game lets you hold more ammo. Increases your capacity. And that item was called the Bag of Holding. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, snap. We got some, like, true D&D fantasy inspiration for this game, which is awesome. And so the objective is the game is to run around the level. Let me just say, the speed of this game is incredible. It is so fast, and it feels good, and something that was different about it. I don't know if you ever, like, played Doom in earnest. Darren, did you ever play Doom with, like proper Doom, like old school Doom?
OG Doom? No.
So, the one thing that stood out to me is that the aim controls weren't really existent. You could turn left, turn right, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was updated because in this game you had the ability to like slightly aim up and down, which honestly is the tiniest thing nowadays, but was so big when I was playing it because I wasn't used to being able to aim all over. And so you are zipping through this level, through all of these levels, and your objective is to basically get to the end point and then activate a switch which ends the level, exactly like Doom. But your weapons are different. And some of the weapons were some of the coolest things I've seen in a game. They're very standard like D&D fare now, but I can imagine if I played this game proper when I was younger, I would have been losing my mind. So there's an ethereal crossbow, which was my absolute weapon of choice, because each shot consumed 1 ammo. I got to the point where I could hold 60 arrows, but when you fire it, it shoots 5 bolts at once. And so if you get up in an enemy's face and fire it, you're hitting them 5 times and absolutely decimating anything you're fighting. Obviously, you have the risk of being close range. There were also a Dragon Claw, which was a weapon in the shape of a dragon, and it shot like energy orbs. Super dope. It was akin to your, like a quick firing pistol. It might be classified as like a rifle, an assault rifle. Then you had the Gauntlets of the Necromancer. These were fun. And what it was if you got in melee range, you had there was no ammo. You just hold the shoot button down, and it just basically shocks enemies. But because of the way it works, it stun locks them. It stun locks a lot of them. So you're basically just sitting in front of enemies and you're Scarlet Witching them as you just watch them get stun locked and then vaporize. The remaster of this game is available on Game Pass, and it's super cool because it has the original soundtrack, but you also have the ability to listen to a remastered version of the soundtrack. So I listened to the remastered, and the music was amazing. Straight up amazing. It was like medieval fantasy metal. And obviously I'm not going to put it in the same realm as them, but it almost reminded me slightly of Apocalyptica, if anybody other than Darren even knows who that is. I think Darren and I might be like the only 2 people on the planet that have any idea who Apocalyptica is. It felt so nice to just move around the map, and I did both controller and mouse keyboard because I played on my tablet with the controller, and then I played directly on my laptop, and both felt really nice. Keyboard took some getting used to because I am not a keyboard mouse player at all. If I have it my way, I will play with the controller. And there was something that was super awesome, and I think it's specifically for the remaster. There were mods built in. There was a mod selection, and you could just pick a mod and install it. And a lot of the mods were like extra levels, extra scenarios, because the way it's laid out is there are scenarios, and then there are missions within the scenarios. So there's like 7, 8, 9 levels in a scenario, and there were a bunch that came with the game. And in the remaster collection, there's like 2 or 3 extras. I don't know if they were expansions or separate games because, this was back in before we had DLCs. Back when we got just full-on expansions. And so it felt so nice. The frame rate was crazy good. I feel like because of what it is, most computers could handle it. If you have an Xbox, you just install it and play it. But because it was... I feel like it was an MS-DOS game. Maybe. Let's find out. Heretic was... Yeah, DOS and Mac and Windows. So it was a 1994 game that came out. So it was all of those things. And so I feel like any computer can run it if you have a way to access like Game Pass on your computer or wherever else it can be bought. Oh, it can be bought on Steam for $15. So like, and you get like six games that come with it. So all in all,
that's not upsetting.
There is a story apparently. The one thing that I will say is that I wasn't sure about the story because the game pretty much just you press start level and it's just like, all right, go kill demon things, and you're like, I mean, all right, bet I got an arsenal at my hands. Let me go mess up some demons. So you go do it, and it feels really good. Highly recommend if you're into first-person shooters.
I mean, Magic Doom is basically the spiritual prequel, but more magical to Doom Dark Ages, which, why not?
Sure. Same company, so it's not like they stole the idea from somebody.
No, they just made it more modern and a little less magical, probably a bit more gory. But
I mean, that's the one thing that I not appreciate. But it's the one thing that's interesting to see, because for those who are too young to know, blood and gore in games was a big old fat no-no back in the day. Because there used to not be the ESRB, which is like the ratings board for video games that are like determine if a game is rated for teens or rated mature or whatever. And Doom existed before that. And I want to say it was created in 1994. Yeah, so the ESRB was created around the same time as Heretic. And so it's interesting to see they go in, things blow up. Their gore just explodes everywhere when you kill these monsters. And it's crazy to think that they could have gotten away with this. I mean, people got mad about Night Trap. Night Trap was a banned video game, and I want everybody to do themselves a big favor and just go watch some footage of Night Trap, and you will die laughing at the fact that was a banned game, or even a challenged game. Go do yourself a favor. Well, if you want to do yourself a super favor, go watch the Grumps play it.
I mean, we're not too far at that time. We're not even that far removed from the group of people who claimed that Pokemon was demonic.
It isn't?
And was basically a love letter to Satan himself. So, I mean, that was the hot button at the time. Video games were corrupting the minds, souls, bodies, and spirits of our children, and they should be handled as such.
Actually, here's a quick quiz. We have 2 viewers here. Hello to our viewers. You guys are awesome. Do you 2 know what the main game that was behind the creation of the ESRB was? Do you know what game it was? There was obviously build up. But there was, I believe, one game in particular. I said one of them. There were 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other game? Yeah, you got it. If you're listening on audio or on YouTube, do you know? I'll give you 3 seconds. What games, other than Night Trap, were responsible for the creation of the ratings board? It was Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was one of the main culprits behind the creation of the ratings board.
Mm-hmm.
Great times. Great times. For those who don't know, there was a code on the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat that you could put in blood, because if you didn't, it was just sweat that got punched out of these dudes. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, ESRB, saving parents, I guess, even though parents don't abide by that. But
And yet, even in spite of that, there still ended up being one game in particular that made the news so many times and was banned in so many countries because of its violence. And that, of course, was Manhunt.
yeah, it
And if you
was.
go back and look up game footage on Manhunt, I guess thematically I can understand, but compared to just like basic stuff that we have now, or
Do you
God, even
know
remember, do you even remember the mission No Russian in Modern
that
Warfare?
mission? That is brutal. That is a brutal, brutal bit of gameplay history. And
Uh
I
huh.
will tell you, out of all my times of going through Modern Warfare, never
Uh huh.
once did I ever pull a trigger. Never. I couldn't do it.
I would say same, but I'd be lying.
There was
So
a point where No Russian, the game before you started it was like, hey, there's a mission here that you might want to skip. You can skip
that's
it.
true. There was a warning.
Yeah. But you said
Oh
Manhunt.
man,
Manhunt
Manhunt.
got around their gory kills by turning the game black and white and blurring stuff in it, because
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have gotten an AO rating if they hadn't,
Mm-hmm.
which for those who don't know, adults only. So the violence was so bad in the ESRB eyes, they were like, hey, this is so bad that this is adults only, which in all fairness, what age is that? Because mature is
Well,
17 and up.
considering now we have kids playing, Modern Warfare and GTA, who knows?
That's a whole other
Who
discussion.
knows?
But
Yes, it
that is
is.
my game. It's a super blast, man. It is so fun to just zoom through these levels and shoot the demons with all the different arsenal things. It's so much fun. It felt so nice. It moved smooth. It honestly, and it looks good. The pixelated graphics of like Doom and the games that look like that, like
Mm-hmm.
Wolfenstein and Heretic, they all still look so good.
It's definitely a very specific type of game. It's one of the reasons why Warhammer 40K Space Marine is as fun as it is. It's very similar.
Just go through and just mindlessly mow down aliens and things. It's great. In all fairness, games like that, if you look at like Gears of War and Doom and Wolfenstein and all those games, they are what people think all games are. Like people who
It's
don't
true.
partake in video games, these games are what people think video games are as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to think about that. But
Yeah.
Darren
It
is was
it makes me want to just play the beginning of High on Life again. But yes, so
were you
my game.
convinced
Go ahead.
to explore it?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, why not?
All right, now I'm curious. I'm locked
Um.
in.
Okay. So as I mentioned last week, the game I chose, Legend of Dragoon, which is a first-party Sony game, is looked upon by many as the spiritual prequel to Lost Odyssey and then consequently Expedition 33. Now, having now played some of it, that comparison to me is asinine.
I don't.
Strictly because like they called it that because there is a moment in combat of like quick time input relative to a single button press prompt and proper timing or not. Um, in Lost Odyssey, the proper button timing simply meant more damage. In Expedition 33, it also meant more damage, or it could mean consequence in terms of like certain things with Loon, where like your fire spells would basically explode and you would damage yourself. For Legend of Dragoon, just to address this straight away, the button pressing that goes into it, pretty much up until a very specific part of the game where you unlock other things, which effectively becomes the game's namesake, uh, the only options that you have to take in combat are attack, defend, or use an item. And pretty much that's it. When you attack, depending on if you have a certain basically skill equipped, affects the button prompts as they come in, and the only button you press is X. Now, because this was a PlayStation 1 game, the timing of that X prompt and when you're supposed to push it is so finicky and so difficult to time in modern times that, man, I have no shame to say that I struggled figuring it out for longer than I'd like to have. Um, but your only penalty for not pressing the button is basically your combo ends. You do less damage. Occasionally, the prompt will like change color, which is the enemy trying to guard. In which case, then you have to press circle at the right time instead of X. But otherwise, it's pretty consistent. Um, there's a part of combat that we will come back to in a second that is something I had forgotten about classic JRPGs, but I'm going to hold that and put it in the back pocket. So, Legend of Dragoon as a whole, now that I've jumped way too far ahead and my order makes no sense, you follow a character by the name of Dart, who you is returning to the area of the village that he effectively grew up in, only to find that it has been completely razed and that a girl who he I guess I don't know if it's Shanna or Shayna, who he knows from his childhood, was taken by a government, and you have to try to get her back, despite the fact that they killed everybody. Um, Mind you, again, this is the opening sequence, so they also drop a ton of future forewarning stuff, like, oh hey, on his way to trying to get back to this village, there's this gigantic green tusked dragon that almost just absolutely wrecks him, and some chick in dope like dark blue dragoon armor comes and saves him, and then he runs away when he sees the smoke. So like we know nothing about her in the early game, but foreshadowing, I guess. Um, Gets back to the village, infiltrates the prison where she's being kept. We're doing all of this in classic JRPG
I was gonna
terms
say
now.
prison starting level
Um,
is classic
Prison
JRPG.
starting level. Well, really, the city after it has been raised is the starting level, because that's where you get. You've actually already done a couple combats, but that's where you get your proper combat tutorial with your master who taught you how to use a sword. Who's so surprised to see you all grown up and alive, because trope number two. Missing protagonist from home village for a long time, returning home to disaster. Classic. Um,
If he has amnesia, it's a trifecta.
No amnesia to my
Oh, okay.
knowledge yet, but God only knows. I only could play as much of this game as I could over the course of a week. Um, so anyway, you go through your opening dungeon is of course the prison. It does as you're getting to the prison, right? Because pretty much from the village to the prison is not one screen to the next. There is kind of like a world map with incremental zones that you have to pass through to get to the next one. um, because they didn't have like the Final Fantasy VII giant open world map concept. It was more like Lost Odyssey, where you're in one location and then you have to get through the next one, or like Metaphor was, right? One location, then you get to the next location to pass through to get to the next
Yeah,
location.
yeah,
Um, on the world map and in the zones that was not the main dungeon that I played, there were random battles, which like everyone loves. In the actual prison dungeon, though, the battles that you underwent were only because you infiltrated and snuck into this prison, were only if guards saw you and then ran after you and touched you. So you could actually somewhat run away from those encounters without getting into them. I don't necessarily recommend it because it is a classic JRPG, so experience matters.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, getting used to the timing of those X prompts during combat was, like I said, a whole thing.
Does a
Inside,
thing show up like to hit X? Like, what does it look like?
so it's there's a square and then a larger square, but as this, it doesn't like shrink inside. It like rotates while it shrinks at something along the lines of like 10 frames per second. Um, and so the correct button prompt press is not when the lines of the square line up with the inner lines of the square. There's like a sweet spot before it, and the little square inside will flash white, which tells you that you've done it. But you also know you've done it because another one will usually pop up, or the skill will pop up that you have equipped.
Okay.
Um, so they're really, because it wasn't like line up perfect timing. It I honestly struggled a lot. I imagine if I had played it back in the PlayStation 1 times, it would have been more intuitive. But because I'm used to very precise button timing pressing, it just kind of, you feel it
I wonder if
and then you
something's
feel
lost
it.
going with the remaster. Because is it remastered or is it just the game?
No, it's this is the game because it's just on PlayStation Plus.
I
So
wonder
it's
if
just the game.
going
As far as I
from
know, there has not been a remaster or remake at all of Legend of Dragoon.
I wonder if going to HD might have had some impact on that.
And it may well have. Um, but so again, still the most difficult part. Now, Ryan,
That's me.
this is very subjective, and I'm trying to guide you into a very specific answer, but
Okay.
and I doubt we're gonna get there. But let's, even all the way up to JRPGs on like the 360 and PS3.
Yeah.
In combat, was there anything that used to happen in every single game that you can remember that was potentially the most irritating, annoying, obnoxious thing?
I'm thinking some things that come to my mind are enemies healing, enemies
Okay.
being resistant, or just
Okay.
outright immune to different certain attacks.
Uh-huh.
Every JRPG.
Yeah. None of those things. It's so, this is so petty and so simple and so superficial. But remembering now, this is, I actually don't remember what year this came out. Uh,
If it was PS1, would have
uh,
been like 90.
99.
Okay.
So this game came out 2 years before. Yeah, 2 years before Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
For perspective, and there was only one instance that I saw of voice acting in this game.
Okay.
And that is because every time you're in combat and you do the button prompts and you get all the way to the end and you use your skill that you have equipped, the character says the skill every single time.
Backslash.
Yes. And the second, I guess the first skill you unlock with the main character is called Volcano.
Volcano.
And so, listen, that is almost exactly how it sounded, but it sounded, mind you, again, 1999 English voice acting. You know
Volcano.
exactly. It was Volcano.
Okay.
Volcano.
So, real quick, Darren and I are absolutely the biggest fans of bad voice acting. Like,
Uh
the
huh.
bad voice acting compilations are some of our favorite things to watch. Do yourself a favor and go watch them,
Uh huh.
please.
This game is done one favor better by having been localized in 1999. And you can tell when you're reading some of these dialogues that it's like, it's so bad, it's funny. And I tried really hard not to let it take away from the story because like it was 1999, it was a PlayStation 1 game, it's fine. But like, you get back into the city that you're from right at the beginning of the game, it's been razed, like half the city's dead, and you walk up to somebody and they recognize you. They go, "Are you Dart?" And he pauses and says, "Hello, yes, I am Dart." Oh. And the immediate
Yeah.
response, I believe, by that guy is something along the lines of, "Oh my god." Like, I've never seen "oh my god" written oh god, in the prison. You find the door that will lead you to Shayna's prison cell, and you go and examine it with the interact button, and it says the door is locked. Oh my god. Why? Oh, okay. I guess we're conveying dismay. But like it's just it certain things didn't need to translate, but you can tell they tried to translate everything as it was. And I don't mean that as like a knock of the game,
This
but
is
man, it's
some people
comic
probably
relief.
think this is bad for us, like this is like a knock on the game. I love this.
Oh no, it adds so much entertainment value just with how bad the localization was and how non-conversational some of these dialogues were. Like it's so charming of 1999 JRPGs. I'm honestly convinced that Final Fantasy VIII Squall, all the time that he just said whatever after dialogue options, was also bad localization. But now Squall saying whatever is a huge meme in the Final Fantasy community. So like it just works. Um and it's every character. Every character that has a skill that they have equipped says the name of that skill every time it's used in combat. And man, it's grating. Like that used to be a thing back in PlayStation 2 especially. Um or god, playing Infinite Undiscovery. If I hearing Capel say Dancing Rhapsody every time he
Dancing
did Dancing
Rhapsody,
Rhapsody,
and it was
same
this.
thing.
It's the
Same thing.
same cadence every
Mhm.
time. Nowadays,
Mhm.
JRPGs, well, they've wisened up, and they're like, can we record like four different versions of you saying this thing?
Mm-mm. Just one, because that was the budget on pre-Blu-ray discs. So, I mean, I was
Dancing
surprised there was
Rhapsody.
any voice acting in it at all. But if I had to hear my man say "volcano" one more time, I was gonna lose my mind. Um, to the point where I started playing it on the PlayStation Portal with no sound whatsoever, which admittedly was a crying shame because this game was like it just reeked of Final Fantasy, PlayStation 1 musical quality. Every bit of the excellence you expect from a JRPG musically was there. Everything felt different. Like it was the music was good, but I just couldn't listen to my man say volcano anymore. Inside the first dungeon, you also get your second party member, and I feel like all I ever heard him say was harpoon. Oh, it's not a good word to just say over and over and over again, man. But like, it did pretty good amount of damage. Um, this game also in combat had the other thing that games of this time were so riddled with and guilty of, which was in battle button mash prompt. And so when you got items, this whole thing was like they were damaging items. So you'd use them and they would do some kind of damage effect to the enemy. And they don't tell you that they do this until the first time you use it. And then all of a sudden you have press X and a little bar that's like 100% plus. So you basically can do more damage the more you mash X when you use an item. So like right off rip, the strongest things I could do, harpoon and volcano, each did 9 damage, and you had to perfectly do the combo in order to do it. But these damaging items that you picked up in the very first field board, I was getting them up to like 190% damage, and they would do 25 damage per pop.
Ooh,
So like items out damaged my party by considerable amounts right off rip. I don't know if it's supposed to be that way, but
probably because
I
they're
certainly
limited, right?
mashed X into Oblivion. You can buy them a lot of the times.
Hmm.
Um like yeah, you just buy that. I believe you
Or
could
is
buy
the
them
thing
unlimited
that they're
amounts.
stuck at that damage? Because if they're stuck at 20 whatever damage, then you'll outpace those quickly.
I don't know. Well, it says in the item description the ones that you got were like minor damage. So I imagine you find better versions of them
Yeah,
later.
right, right.
Um But I mean, a lot of the stuff that you were fighting, the first boss in the game, I want to say might have had like 50, 60 hit points. So, I mean, it is what it is. But
You
it
just
was,
reminded me
I
of
mean,
another
this is,
trope.
huh, there's,
The
there's lots of
the
good tropes.
trope that you just reminded me of is the fact set amount of health healing potions make me so
So
freaking mad.
to that end, the healing potions that you got in this game are just heal for 50% of your health.
That's
And that's
great. Percentage is
50%.
awesome.
That's 50% as a value, not it heals you to 50%. So
Yeah.
like if you had 200 hit points, no matter when you used that health potion, you were healing for 100.
Yeah, right, right.
So that means your health potions scale with you the whole game. That's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Um, that's exactly the way it should be. And they only ever got, well, from where I was in the game, they cost 10 currency. You know, when I ended the bit that I played, I had like 4 or 500, so I could just have
Nice.
them if I wanted to.
Is it
So all
pre-rendered
things,
backgrounds?
oh my god, yes, it is. It
Okay.
is Final Fantasy VII-ist Final Fantasy VII inside of Midgar. It's all the jank of trying to run collisions and seeing if there's a secret because they could hide them in a polygon. It's it's sprite moving on board that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. The one thing they did do is they have all of your exits labeled as like there's like a green exclamation point, I believe, that shows that that's where exits are.
Oh, perfect.
And if there's like an uncommon interact prompt, like a ladder to climb up or a box to hide in or something, a yellow exclamation point pops above your head to let you know that you can do something with it. So they seemed to, at least 1999, 2 years or even I think 1 year before the PlayStation 2 came out, they realized the limitations of a PlayStation 1 and they built a game around them well. So I don't think it would have suffered from a lot of the difficulties and the growing pains that like Final Fantasy VII did. Um, the opening cutscene I would not put in the same quality as Final Fantasy 8 or 9 or Chrono Cross or anything like that, but it also wasn't like Final Fantasy VII's opening cutscene. So it was still pretty good. It was still, full motion video stuff, back when FMV was the thing you wanted to have. Um, Honestly, it's kind of hard to recommend going back and playing a PlayStation 1 JRPG when we have such good games now in the JRPG genre. That being said, if you understand that you're going into a PlayStation 1 JRPG, this I had a lot of fun with this game when I played it. Um, it's
Well, and
charming. All of the bad aspects of it were bad in a charming or funny way, and they're only bad because I'm playing a 1999 game in 2025.
you don't go back and play these games because they control better or anything. You go back and play these
Right.
games, specifically JRPGs, because you're going back for a story that maybe set a precedent or is just overall good. So like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's crazy to like temper your expectations for sure.
Exactly. I mean, it simply was what it was. In fact, for what it's worth, in North America, Legend of Dragoon came out in June of 2000. In October of 2000, PlayStation 2 came out.
Mm.
So I
And
mean, you're
this might,
understanding where you're at relative to life cycle.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, the game's fun. It's if you go in and all you've played are modern JRPGs and they've spoiled you on what mechanics are, to the point where you can't even necessarily have fun with what they used to be. I'll never begrudge somebody that. And God, again, the writing was just localized from Japan, so it's so funny and so bad. But the story comes across, right? It's a kid coming back to his village, finding that someone he cares about's taken. You go and save her, and as a result of saving her, end up meeting somebody else who thrusts you into this global conflict, and therein you have your basis of the game. Right? About as cliche of an opening of a JRPG as possible, but like who cares? It's cliche because it was good when it was good.
Yeah.
right? It's what we wanted, it's what people expected. It's the grand adventure that you're looking for with universal global stakes, whatever. I mean, the fact that you can play this game for free on Sony when, I mean, it's no pun intended, but it is a legend in the JRPG world.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
I'm I'm sad I never got to play it back then. I don't even think I had too many friends that had PlayStations. All of my friends had Nintendos. So I mean, the fact that I get to go back and play this now, I will probably continue playing this game in free time. Admittedly, free
You're
time
not
no
gonna
longer
have a lot of
exists
that.
next weekend. But this is a game that I'm not just going to, go as soon as we're done recording this. I'm not going to go out to my PlayStation and uninstall it, like I have with many other things that we've played.
Sure.
So no, heavy and hard recommend. It's corny, it's cheesy, it's definitely almost older than the two. Well, it's definitely older than the two viewers that we have in our chat right now, and it's great. It's great. Play it, love it, do it.
You know, I've so I'm in the JRPG subreddit, and the a constant question that's asked is like, what it like top tier, top three, top five, whatever JRPGs of all time, and Legend of
Hmm.
Dragoon is in most people's lists in some
Yes, it
capacity.
is.
So like, yeah, no, I'm absolutely there. I'm always into gaming history, and I think Legend of
Hmm.
Dragoon fits that.
Especially if for an RPG fan. I mean, it's to really appreciate how far we've come. We have to realize where we were, and it's not even bad. It just it's old.
Yeah, and there's
It was
nothing wrong with
5
that.
console generations ago.
Yeah, and we say that it's a it's a legendary game, and I want to move on to our final segment because a potentially legendary game just dropped. That is Hollow Knight Silksong,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I know you're nervous about this game coming out. Darren, can you please tell our audience why are you nervous about this game releasing?
All right. So, surprise to those who are listening and been with us a bit. I really like Expedition 33. And it, to me, needs to win every award that it could possibly ever be nominated for. One, because it genuinely deserves it, but two, because I'm such a biased fanboy that it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, I worry about Silk Song because Hollow Knight is an incredibly beloved game, which I didn't like. I knew, but I didn't necessarily know. And then you go and look at the concurrent players on Steam
It
when Silk
crashed
Song
game
came out
stores,
this past week. When it came out this past week, at one point, it had, I think at peak, had 400,000 concurrent Steam players,
which is a
which is
lot.
it's far higher than there ever were on Game Pass or on Steam for Expedition 33. So I mean, it's that concerns me just because of its scope and effect. Now, do I necessarily think a 2D Metroidvania should beat Expedition 33 for Game of the Year? No, but I mean, if it's a good game, it's a good game. You know what I mean? Like I can't take away from it just because I think something else is better. I just don't want anything else to beat Expedition 33. And I'm so glad that GTA 6 is coming out next year because otherwise nothing would have a chance.
Yeah,
But now I look at Silk Song and Ghost of Yote as legitimate threats.
the all time peak for Expedition was 161,000.
Right. So, double the volume playing Silk Song peak. Now, to be fair, that's not counting the people play it on PlayStation. It's
Uh,
not counting the people who bought it on Xbox or played it
I've
on Game Pass.
um,
So
just a day ago, Silk Song
mm,
hit 555,000 concurrent players.
wild,
That's
wild.
half a million concurrent players. Oh, my bad. 10 hours ago, its all time peak was 587,000. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Yeah. So I mean, you know,
Good on Team Cherry. Good. I will celebrate Team
it's
Cherry.
true. Listen, if anything, the way I look at it, if Clair Obscur doesn't win Game of the Year, okay, I don't like that, but whatever. If an indie title beats it, okay, that's fine. That's just
I,
fine with
I,
me because I
yeah,
it's as we've talked about so many times on this show. The indie darling, like it is the indie time. Indie games have shown that they deserve to just be like, we shouldn't have to qualify them as indie games anymore, because
they are.
oftentimes now the indie game delivers a more complete experience and a better experience than the AAA plus games
And you know why? Because
because they
it's
care about them.
purely passion. It is
Mm-hmm.
purely passion driven.
It is the game they wanted to make. It's the game they wanted to play.
Darren and I
That's all
last
there is to
night
it.
were doing stuff on the stream, and we watched. It was a funny video. Oh my gosh, Cabo animations. Um, please correct me, Darren, while I explain. But a it was an animation of Expedition 33 Act 2.
Mm-hmm.
This guy like
Mm-hmm.
finishes Act 2 and then makes like these hilarious animations of like Expedition 33 Act 1 in a nutshell, Act 2 in a nutshell, and it's really funny animations. And there was one part that they tied the end of Act 2 into the speech that Larian Studios, the winner of Game of
Mm-hmm.
the Year with Baldur's Gate 3, gave. And even in the midst of this hilarious video, it was a goosebump inducing like
Mm-hmm.
impassioned speech that he gave about basically like games that are made by developers that make the game they want to play are the future of games. And he basically said like these games that are made for money, games that are made without passion, they're not the future. They are not what we have to look forward to. It is these developers that are passionate, that care, that make their darling. That is what we need to embrace and look forward to. And if anybody hasn't watched it, go watch Baldur's Gate 3, the Game Awards acceptance speech. It's amazing, and he said all the right things and did all the right things. Um, but I agree. If an indie game wins Game of the Year, that's fine. I'm with you in Expedition 33. Hollow Knight for me personally is not like it's a 2D Metroidvania like Souls like. Me personally, it's just not my thing. But I appreciate like what they've done because Silksong was supposed to be a DLC, and they're just like, bump it, dude. This is becoming too big. We're just gonna make it a full blown game, and good for them for releasing it when they thought it was ready.
Indeed. I mean,
Rooting for
it's
Peak.
and the
I
fact that it
mean,
and the fact that it went from a DLC to a full game because they wanted it to be the scope that they wanted it to be. I mean, who cares? It's a studio that did exactly what it wanted to do. If it wins, it wins. I can't be upset about it.
yeah,
I'll
and
be upset about it, but not upset about the who. I'll simply be upset that it wasn't Expedition 33.
Expedition 33 is winning
You,
music soundtrack of the year. Like we know that for a fact.
God, it should.
We
It
know
it
that
it
for a
must.
fact. And then one
It
of
must.
our listeners just said they're rooting for Peak, which is a game that was created by one of Darren's darlings, Aggro Crab, which were the creators of
Another crab's treasure.
Another Crab's Treasure. So that is their game, and it actually didn't I tell you it sold like 10 milli or something like that,
I think it's something like that.
which is crazy for an indie
I
game. Good for them. Good for them.
I
I will always
love.
celebrate that.
I will celebrate Aggro Crab especially. They deserve all the attention, all the love that anyone can muster.
Yes, they do. And last point of order. So before we talk about what we're doing next week, for those listeners who don't already know, Darren and I are going to be potentially altering up the the scheduling of our show.
Mhm.
If you watch us on YouTube or listen to us on YouTube or whatever, it's still going to be like weekly releases. Spotify will most likely be going to every other week because our plan
Mhm.
is going to be alternating between doing a regular podcast, talking to each other, and a gameplay stream where we just go on Twitch and we just play games together and upload the footage to YouTube of just like, hey, anybody can watch, anybody can join, anybody can talk to us while we're playing, whatever. And yeah, just wanted to try and switch it up. YouTube, it's still there. You can go access it if you're interested at all. It will probably be. We're still deciding how we want to do it because part of us is like, do we want to stream one of the games that we've talked about for the episode, or do we want to stream
Mhm.
um I forget what our other options were. Do we want to stream Game Pass games? Do we want to stream games that we're like playing in our
Mhm.
own time? Or do we want to
Mhm.
have a completely separate game that we just play through little by little? So we're
Potentially together.
yeah. So we're still figuring that out, and we'll see how it goes. And yeah, we're just gonna experiment, just to have some fun, just switch things up. And so keep an eye out for for that. And yeah, I think that's that. Darren, anything else to add?
No, I mean ultimately we're just trying to make this more. We're trying to obviously reach more people, but we're trying to make this more interactive. Um, so that I mean it's there's only so much interacting we can do when we're recording episodes of a podcast. But if we branch into streaming, we can actually interact with people, grow more of a community where we can do cool stuff, fun stuff, and it truthfully it just gives us more than a week to try to play our games that we're trying to convince each other about. Because I mean, as time has gone on and more games come out that we actually want to play, it is difficult to carve out time in a week to play enough of a game to do it sufficient justice. And quite honestly, we're also outpacing the release of some games as far as new things that we can play on PlayStation Plus and Game Pass. So I mean, it helps. We've toyed with a couple other episode ideas, for ways that we can structure some stuff moving into the future, but we'll cross those bridges as they come. Ultimately, it's just we just want to be able to do more different stuff, and perhaps this podcast form, its truest state probably has always been on a stream of some kind. Um, it might be easier to transition it now before we have an abundance of listeners than later. It's really all it
Yeah.
comes down to.
Yeah, so we're gonna experiment tonight, see what we can get going, but keep an eye out in the schedule. We're as of right now, maybe next week we can start our gaming streams. So we'll see. We will put out posts on social media, let people know. It's not going to be out of nowhere, but just wanted to put it out into the ether. Next
Mm-hmm.
week, next week. Um, well, I guess we can't say next week. We could say next episode. Next episode, whether that's next week or the week after, I will be convincing Darren to try RoboCop Rogue City by Tion, who is a developer that has made a bunch of games that honestly I've never heard of. So I'm excited to see what they've got.
And I'm going to play the game I Am Your Beast by Strange Scaffold. This was developed and produced by Strange Scaffold. I went and looked them up because I'd not thought I'd heard of them before. And they created games like El Paso Elsewhere, or Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator. You know, real real out of pocket titles. And then I found one that, as some of you may know, Ryan and I are reasonably large fans of the Game Grumps.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, Strange Scaffold did one of the games they played on an episode that you might call a cult classic episode.
Which one?
And Ryan, that game was none other than Clickholding.
Oh.
Yeah.
That game is
For
alarming.
those unaware, yeah, that's an experience.
Just say nothing. Just go in blind.
YouTube.com, YouTube.com/GameGrumps. Look up their playthrough on Clickholding. You'll understand what I might be potentially getting myself into here.
Oh, man. I hope it's a secret horror game. I hope it is.
It's a first-person shooter. That's what I know.
All right. But with that said, thank you for tuning in, giving us any of your time. We appreciate you all. All of our social media is at the bottom. We have a new look. I want to give a shout out to one of our listeners. I don't know if they want me to share their name. We typically don't share names unless the person gives their permission. They're actually in the chat right now. Are you okay if we say your name to give a shout out to you for helping us with our backdrop and maybe new logo? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. While they're giving potential permission, okay, cool. So our listener Ari very kindly gave us some gentle feedback, constructive criticism, if you will, on the fact that our backdrop sucked because it was just black. So, and apparently our logo's trash. So I suck at
verbatim. She said verbatim, "Whoa, y'all suck shit. That logo's fat ass dough. What were y'all thinking?"
Okay.
Or I might be paraphrasing. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Almost verbatim.
Darren is slightly paraphrasing what they said, but they have given us feedback on a logo, so we might be changing that. We'll see. But yes, thank you for listening, giving us your time. You're all amazing, and we will see you on the next episode. With that said,
are you convinced yet?
probably not.